And welcome back to the Geek Centurions, boy.
Be Joe.
We're here to talk about something interesting that Joey brought up to me once, and I thought it'd be a really good idea for an episode. Joey, when do you tell people what we're talking about today?
Okay. I was browsing the internet like you normally do, and a big discussion came up. I don't exactly remember what anime it was.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was. I think that new one with the deer god, right?
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, like
Yeah, that one's cute.
yeah, it's a cute, dumb, fun like comedy show, right? But I think there was a bit of a controversy when it came to the subtitling of it because
Mm-hmm.
granted, again, this is just me just trying to remember. I don't think I ever like bookmarked the specific page or whatever that talked about it, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was coming to light that supposedly that the subtitles were being done with AI, like straight up like
Ah, yes, our old friend AI.
yeah, just more or less of like, hey, just machine learning translation stuff, that sort of thing. Not being done by an actual person, but just like a more advanced school translate, basically.
Basically, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So that sort of
And to be fair, whenever you hear the word AI, it just automatically just does not bring good. People are gonna react in a very negative way.
well, yeah, especially considering how the rise of say AI art and stuff has sort
Mhm.
of really made that sort of a whole negative topic, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Like you can't really escape it, and you can't really escape people trying to use AI. So it trying to be like a translator kind of already is like a big issue, or it can be an issue because already had it with like the Scarlett Johansson stuff.
right, I believe what was it
It was like some Chat GPT kind of thing.
they wanted to use her voice,
Yeah,
and then she said no, but then they did it anyway.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah. So you really can't really escape the stuff with AI. But no, this is a very interesting one. I've heard about it, and I never really thought we would be in that sort of situation.
well, yeah, because it's the main sort of discussion that sort of came about it was more sort of like obviously translating stuff from Japanese to English, can be difficult because there's a lot of Japanese words that don't necessarily have an English equivalent, that sort of thing. And it just became a larger topic of just translating and localization when it comes to different mediums, right? Because I mean, the long history of anime in the U.S. has always been sort of, like just kind of throwing out like the actual translations and just sort of making up your own story kind of thing.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that kind of stuff, and a lot of it does come from like just weird translations and trying to like make it more fit into the country that it's dubbing for or like translating for. But I think that's probably the better one to go with.
Yeah, because I mean, this is like part of the main reason why we still have these sort of sub versus dub debates in the anime community, right?
Mm.
Because it's like it's a holdover of all the times that whenever anime was brought over to the
Mm.
U.S., say pre early 2000s,
Yeah,
a lot of it was just sort
well,
of
even way back before then, you got to remember the whole Speed Racer stuff, and like even the Astro Boy. When you go and read like Astro Boy as the original stuff, there's a lot of like changes to it. There's a lot of especially like namings, really, because Pluto, the anime that's on Netflix right now, which I highly recommend, is a really good anime. Um, the the main it's basically it's an arc from Astro Boy, but they kind of like modernize it, make it sort of like a who done it kind of stuff.
mm,
And but they keep some of the names intact. For example, Astro Boy is real name is Adam. Adam like Atom, but it's play on words. Adam like the first,
mm,
kind of stuff.
yeah.
The first machine, kind of stuff. But yeah, no, there's always been stuff like that, and if you really think about it, but this is a different kind of situation entirely, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, because it's like, all right, because I mean, obviously, it's a whole jobs thing at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day when it comes to like a major company reportedly using AI translations instead of hiring an actual company to
Mm-hmm.
translate, shows into, like the subtitles,
Mm-hmm.
right? Making them accurate English translations and stuff. That's sort of about a whole, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
controversy of like, is this right? People could be losing their jobs, and then obviously other people who are like, well, I don't really like a lot of these people making these translation changes or you know stuff into anime, right? Because there have been, I mean, obviously, like we said before, there's a lot of examples. I mean, heck, if you've heard the name Four Kids before, you know exactly what I think a lot of people talk about when it comes to like companies, especially in America, making changes to anime to fit, like you said earlier, that country, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the infamous jelly donut line from
Yeah, no,
Pokemon, right?
it's a rice ball.
Yeah, it's a rice ball, but obviously, people don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's changes like that, like just. I mean, these are funny, right? Like when
They're
you.
funny, but like it's just really weird.
Yeah, because I mean, even as a kid, right? When
You
I.
kind of knew it was Japanese. There's
Yeah.
something about I don't. I'm only speaking for myself. Like I just like I knew this is like in Japan. Something about it just didn't seem like this was made in the U.S.
Yeah, because I mean,
I don't know what it is.
when I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
Hearing that line and just going like, well, I've never seen a donut look like that.
Mhm.
That's
Donut holes maybe.
yeah. I'm like, well, that doesn't seem right at all. It's a lot of those sorts of things where you kind of like. I mean, heck, even like, I mean, granted, Power Rangers isn't necessarily part of the conversation because if you know the history of Power Rangers,
Mhm.
right? Like that's a completely different
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
whole
It's
situation.
localization, and at the end of the day, that's kind of like what the issue with some people have with some of this stuff.
Yeah, because there is a good chunk of I feel like anime fans that want a sort of pure, unfiltered experience of that medium, right?
Mhm.
Like even when it's like a slight word change, like I think people were losing their minds over that Nagatoro anime. I think I remember seeing people be kind of annoyed with the subtitling where she says sus or something.
Oh yeah, I do
Like,
remember something like that.
and it's like that's not a thing Japanese people say or whatever. Like, and it's like, I get it,
Mhm.
but sometimes, it's yeah, it's a fine line when it comes to translation and localization, right?
So like, I'm usually kind of okay with it, mostly because in my mind, it kind of depends on the translation and like the equivalent of it, right? Like, what's the closest thing to be what that's exactly what the word is saying in this other language, right? So like, I, I speak Spanish, right?
Yeah,
There are certain words in Spanish that I cannot translate in English because there's either no exact word for that or the phrasing only works in Spanish.
yeah. I mean, you get this a lot. I mean, heck, in any type of language, right? There
Mm.
are gonna be some words or phrases, right, that just do not make sense in another language. Like,
Mm-hmm.
try imagining explaining to a Japanese person the whole line of "It's raining cats and dogs." Like, what is the hell? Is there even a Japanese equivalent to that line?
There
Like,
probably is.
yeah, but if it's not going to be the exact words that I said, they're probably
Mm-hmm.
going to be like, "Oh, it's this, and this," and it's like, well, that's not exactly what he said. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like, and that's mainly what a lot of that sort of stuff usually is, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
taking the various in jokes or cultural stuff that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really make sense for an average American audience member to see, and make it like, make them understand the situation better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, I know for a lot of anime fans, right? They're like, well, I understand that reference, and that's because you watch a lot of anime.
You're actually engaged in the culture outside of anime, hopefully.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, you understand, I mean, you get that, and I know some people's the solutions to stuff like that is like, well, why don't we do what like fan subs do and just put like a little translator note on stuff to like explain what that is, which is
Mhm.
like fair enough. That does happen sometimes in actual like anime,
Mhm.
right? There'll be just signs that aren't translated to English, but you have the little English of like, oh, that's what that sign says,
Mhm.
you know, that stuff. But other times, I don't know, because again, it comes back to what I feel like is always the meme when it comes to stuff like that. It's like, why isn't there a translator note for stuff like that? Well, it's like, well, yeah, but then you go back and then it's like, the classic line from Death Note. All according to Keikaku translation, Keikaku means plan. Then why not just say plan?
Yeah.
you
That
know,
is exactly a really good one too. I mean, like the idea of localization is that you kind of have to find like a nice, good way to um, not only display what is the intended. Like, there's some things that again make sense within the context, but like I don't know the right word to go with it, but I know you understand what I'm trying to say.
yeah, because I feel like what I think you're trying to go with is just that, like just because it is not the exact word to word thing, as long as it still conveys the same meaning of what is being
Mm-hmm.
said, then it should still be a fine translation, right?
Mm-hmm. There's
Uh,
been a couple times where I've seen where like that's not what that actual translation is. Actually, it's other translation. Actually, it's more in line to this is and that. I think the closest thing I could find an example was in Chainsaw Man. This is specifically the manga when they translated it to English. That a certain word was used in Japan that is a Japanese word for the exact thing, but the American translation went with a different word because that's probably the closest thing they could go with, but it's not exactly what that person was trying to say.
right,
And that's kind
right.
of like the real issue. The issue is oftentimes language, and I kind of understand why someone's like, well, AI generated, but that's not you're not getting the exact translation.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that sort of whole debacle is just mainly, I think, a lot of people, like I said, who are annoyed with various changes, even if they are slightly minor, or just like, screw it, just give it to an AI or, put it through Google Translate or basically something like
Mhm.
that to get, like, at least close to a pure experience for these people.
Mhm.
And, like, hey, that's that's the way it is
Mhm.
because if you don't, because I feel like from what I see from a lot of people's arguments from that side of the you know that side
Mhm.
is that if these people aren't doing their jobs right, then just give it to an AI. That's
Which
sort
is
of,
the one thing you don't want.
yeah. That's, I mean, it definitely feels a little bit of I don't want to say like them being like that's what you get
Mhm.
for doing this. Like it feels
No.
retributive,
It
right?
yeah.
Uh, But I, but I think it's mostly because some people are just kind of like, well, I want a pure, experience, right? I want to be able to like
Mhm.
experience the story or whatever, whether it be a game, a movie, a book, anime, stuff like that. I want the most pure experience of
Mhm.
it. I don't want to like, I want everything word to word, and it's like that's not always possible because
No, 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 because it's a different language.
and that's the thing with the AI too, because like it will do that, but then it will just make words but not make sense,
Yeah.
right? It's
So,
like,
so the closest thing I could always think of is whenever someone tries to use a Google Translate for a word in Spanish, right? Uh, Especially in considering that in terms of Spanish, there's kind of different dialects for Spanish, right? You got the Castellina. You don't know.
yeah, different regions
Yeah,
of both Spain and Mexico. All those
yeah,
Spanish-speaking countries
yeah.
have their
There's
own.
there's there's words in from El Salvador that I can't that I don't know what that means. There's stuff in Argentina that I don't know what that means, and there's stuff that in Spain Spanish that you know I don't know what that means.
Well, I think a lot of it, to provide a further example of that, I mean, there's like, if you're ever in a Spanish class, I think you probably have heard
Mhm.
about this. The it's like a specific like
Oh,
spe-
vosotros and all that stuff.
yeah, like that specific language of words to
Yeah,
use for like a specific
yeah.
situation. but that only is ever used in one region of Spain,
Mhm.
which has always annoyed me whenever I'm in Spanish classes back in the day, being like, why do we have to learn this if it's only in one if only one certain region in Spain talks like this?
Mhm.
Like, what's the point?
That was always my thing too.
Yeah,
And it's always like I rather learn this Spanish. I rather learn this Spanish, but then I'm like, bro, you're not gonna get the Spanish you want.
Yeah,
I always tell people like, nah, dude, trust me.
and to go further on the whole regional dialect stuff, like,
Yeah.
I mean, there are like when it comes to like a word, like to give an example, like
Mhm.
ice cream, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people say it in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
I know there's a word like nieve. Sometimes people say that,
Mhm.
but for other places that word is more of just into just regular snow or
Yeah.
ice. When other places go with helado, you know.
Mhm.
Sorry if I'm butchering any Spanish. I apologize.
With
But
specific regional Spanish.
yeah, because that one for other places is more in line with what ice cream is.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just kind of like I feel like that's a similar thing, when it comes to trying to translate, say Japanese to English, because there are going to be a lot of different words that
There's
mean a
even
lot of
different
different things.
dialects in Japan. You have like Okinawan,
Yeah,
and there's like northern parts of Japan that have their own kind of little thing going on. Like there's like, and they sometimes would put that in anime. I remember this old one. It was back in the day, man. This was like a harem anime called Sekirei. There was a character who spoke in a very like traditional style of Japanese, right? I can't recall what kind it was, but the thing I always thought was kind of funny was that, and for the dub, what they did was go with Shakespearean Old English.
yeah, and that's something I notice a lot too when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like if the character in the original Japanese dub is like from say like some region of Japan that's a bit more
Mhm.
country like, right? They have like a specific like accent or whatever. I think off the top of my head, it's like I can't think of any anime specifically, but it's like typically if the character sounds like seems like they're a bit of a hick, right?
Yeah.
Like from the countryside, you know. In the dub, they'll give them like a southern or like country accent, right?
Yeah. Like
Just
like a very hard like southern accent.
like well, gee, not like that, but
Yeah. Like
uh,
something like the Colonel.
yeah, like you know, and that's to help the American audience. They say, oh, they're from the country, right?
Yeah, which is a good example of like a good way to translate that, right? Um, but also like the one I always think about too is uh I had it right in my head but now I lost it. Never mind then. But yeah, no, there's a lot of times where you know anime would do that, and with a lot of translations you would probably have to get that like okay this is from a specific country, a specific part of the world. They have this kind of different accent. They have this very like different dialect. You're not gonna get that with AI
No,
because
yeah,
it's not gonna register that.
yeah, and
It's it's like I said with the Google Translate. Whatever you translate with through Google, what are you gonna get? You're gonna get like Spain Spanish. But if you're talking to say someone from Guadalajara or say Peru or any other like Spanish speaking place, you're not gonna get the exact translation.
yeah, and granted, obviously, we're just talking about mainly sort of the when it comes to voicing and like the translation stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, again, like I don't get me wrong, I like this sort of I think in my opinion, right, like we have to be sort of kind of careful when it comes to stuff like this. When
Yeah.
if you want to try doing like machine translate, like let an AI translate for you, right? Like you have to be very careful
Mm.
about if it makes it work or not. Like you said, like it's not gonna be able to understand a lot of other stuff
Mm-hmm.
and like get certain things right. Because AI is not
You're
gonna be able to understand that stuff, right?
you're better off just using a person, to be honest.
Yeah, but at the same time, I understand the argument from the other side
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
like,
I know where you're going with. Like, you kind of get what they're coming from, but like for me, I kind of rather be a person because at least they'll be able to figure it out. Or like, there's a word. It's so easy to say they're just being lazy. That's kind of where I'm going with,
hmm
And it's not that. It's more of you know, time, production, and all that kind of stuff. But there's there's better ways to go about it. You don't really have to use that as your primary thing. And I understand that's also where you're going with, because I know you're not trying to be for a lot of AI. You're trying to be like, hey, if you're gonna use this, you better not use this as your easy way out.
Yeah, no, I mean, if anything, I feel like the obviously the AI stuff is the more laser option
Mm-hmm.
compared to what people are saying these translators that are being hired to do this stuff
Mm-hmm.
do. And again, don't get me wrong, you know, like there are, you know, groups of people or, you know, that do translations for the localization of certain stuff and kind of like take a bit of a hacksaw to it. I mean, there was that example of what's his name, Jello Apocalypse.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember Jill Apocalypse.
Like he was in charge of writing this like the dub script for an anime, right?
I think it was Fruit Baskets or so. It was an anime that was it was a shoujo anime,
Mm-hmm.
but essentially he did not like what the whole story was about, and he ended up trying to change the writing of it.
Yeah, for the English dub,
Yeah,
right?
and he got ripped apart,
Rightfully so, because
rightfully so.
that is a thing, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's something, you know, for translation and localization companies they have to like get better at. Because I mean, you know, from my experience, you know, for video games, right? Like there is the infamous
Mhm.
English version of the Fire Emblem Fates game.
Mhm.
So in the original Japanese, there was a certain like mini game that you can just do with your you know your characters. You can bond with them, and it's like a weird like because you know it's on the 3DS, so you can do like little like tapping them and like wiping their face and stuff like that. You know, like it felt like kind of like you're playing Nintendogs but with like anime characters,
Yeah.
which was always kind of weird. I remember when I first heard about it because the game came out like a year before in Japan before it came to the U.S. So when you heard all this stuff, it's like that's a little weird. I mean, you know, I mean, as a fan of Fire Emblem, that you know, obviously, you know, the joke about it being like waifu emblem, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, I wouldn't necessarily 100% agree with that, but at that point, it's like, well, I feel like we're living up to the stereotype here,
Yeah.
and I'll play it still. I'll just be begrudgingly having to deal with that. And for the English version, they took that game out. Like, you still are able to do that, but you just skip the whole mini game and just go straight into, oh yes, you know, we've bonded, and you know, your support level's been increased. And it's like, I know a lot of people, you know, were at least online were very upset about that because it's like you took out an essential, you took out part of the game basically
Mhm.
for, and you know, kept it from a certain audience, and it's like, yeah, I won't lie, that is a little, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not to mention there's other like various line changes and stuff. I think I told you this a while ago about like how these two characters that are pretty much like the strong silent like assassin types. In the English, they just do a bunch of like you know like they don't say anything to each other.
No, it's
It's
the
just
the muted dots
the
and
muted
stuff.
dots for like a couple of things and that's it. But in the actual original Japanese version, they actually did have dialogue and did talk about stuff.
They
So
have
it's
personality.
you know and it's kind of
Mhm.
like the translators and the people you know making the English version kind of just went for more of a joke
Mhm.
than actually translating, which again they say, all right, you know, I get that.
Mhm.
When you use that as an example of how bad translations and localizations can be, I completely understand where you're coming from.
Mhm.
And yes, they should be doing better, but using an AI is probably not like
No, 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 no.
the best solution to that. You
No.
think it is because it's like it's a robot. It has no there's no way for it to do stuff like this,
Yeah,
right?
it can fuck up.
It can absolutely still fuck up, but not in the ways you think it would.
Yeah.
Like it's you know, and I think that's sort of the thing at the end of the day for a lot of people who
Yeah.
support that side. It's like it doesn't matter like the ability for it to fuck up in these specific ways and not getting the translation right. Like it's like it's more important that the translation sticks more closely to the original source as you know as perfectly as possible,
Mhm.
even if it will fuck up in ways that you know regular human people can fuck up. Because at least when it
Yeah.
happens to that, it's like, okay, you understand what happened, and you just all you have to do if you're a company is just hire better people at the end of the day
Mhm.
instead of just replacing your work staff with AI. And I think that's sort of the point I kind of wanted to make with this whole discussion, right?
Yeah. No, no, no. I totally get where you're coming from, and yeah, no, there's better ways to go about it than just that. And thankfully, I feel like we've been getting a lot better, and there's just you know sources and references that we can all use that helps us better understand this kind of thing. And sometimes, in a rare occasion, there's just me to put like a nice little pin at the end of it. Sometimes, it comes out for the better. This. I mean, like, if we're being honest, it also works the other way around. Because I still remember watching those King of the Hill Japanese dubs, and I'm like, oh, you don't understand what's going on. You probably won't understand what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, heck, I think a running joke that we like to always talk about is how, weirdly enough, Shrek, like the Spanish
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
of Shrek, whenever we watch it, like
Peak.
it's honestly probably more funnier in Spanish than it is in English.
Yeah, because a lot of the jokes work better in Spanish, and like they just throw an extra level of Spanish humor in there. Like I always think about like in Shrek 3, how they make fun of. You remember Prince Charming? How
Yeah, in the original, like obviously they make fun of his clothing, right? It's like, oh, are you wearing women's clothing or whatever.
yeah,
But the way they do it in the Spanish dub,
it's so much funnier.
it's so much funnier.
It's delivered a lot better. It's got that little like Spanish humor.
Humor and charm and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that it's like, oh my god, this is actually even funnier.
Yeah.
Like when you hear it in English, it's kind of it's okay. You're making fun of the fact that he's like wearing women's clothes. Like
It's a bit of a tired joke,
it's
right?
a tired joke.
The way they set it up.
The way they set it up in that one, I was like, oh, whoa, hold on, yeah, that's pretty funny. But yeah, no, I really I think this is a good idea for a conversation topic, especially when it comes to localization and a lot of other stuff. Um, but I think that's pretty much all we have to say about this. But do let us know what you guys think. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to follow us on all social media: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I think it's Centurions for most of us on Instagram. Be sure to follow us there, and you'll see a link tree to all podcasting sites. We're officially part of like Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Pandora. We have a YouTube where you can comment, like, and subscribe. And yeah, do let us know for any cool ideas or any interesting topics to talk about. We're always happy to listen. Anyways, it's been me, your boy Eli.
It's me, Joe.
You guys have a good one. Peace.